I don't know how to intro this. Okay, whatever.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Film the Right Thing.
Yeah, welcome to our Halloween special that will probably come out after Halloween. I think. Well, it depends on how hard we get copyright struck. But we're ranking the Alien movies from worst to best,
Yay.
and we're doing it in a conversational format because I think it'll be funny when we disagree on which Alien movie is the worst one. Because I'm pretty sure we're not gonna have the same answer. Have you seen? You saw all 6 movies. You saw the 4 movies and then the 2 prequels.
Yeah.
You peeped them.
Yeah.
Did you see the alternative cuts of any of the movies?
No, I watched the theatrical cuts of each movie.
Okay, we'll get to that. Let's talk about the format of this really quick, since this is the first time we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should do this as we mention the movies from worst to best. Well, I'll say what my worst movie is, and then if that movie, let's say I say Alien 1 is the worst Alien movie, which that would be a nice troll. If I said Alien 1979 is the worst Alien movie, and then your 5th movie is Alien 1979, then you should mention it, and then we'll talk about it. But if it's later in your list, just say it's later in your list, and then we'll move on. So then we can talk about it when it's your turn. So whoever's choice is further down, then we'll talk about it then. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Are you down to do that? Do you have any suggestions? Because if we do this and we like it, we can move forward and further make this format better and more fun.
No, I don't have any suggestions. I think we should just go for it, see what happens.
Okay, we're just gonna go in
Guns blazing.
like the whole cast of Alien Covenant. No helmet on. So do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You know what's funny
pick.
though? You said Alien Covenant. I have that movie written as Prometheus 2.
I mean, that's what it is. Ridley
Yeah,
Scott got
it's-
butthurt because Neil Blomkamp was going to do his Alien movie, and he was like, no. They messed up my franchise before. I won't let them do it again. If anyone's going to make bad movies, it's going to be
me.
That's good. All right, so what is your least favorite Alien movie?
It's funny because it's Prometheus 2, Alien Covenant.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Interesting. Mine is a little later.
Okay.
My least favorite Alien movie is actually, this might be a hot take.
Is it Aliens?
No.
Okay.
I'm not crazy.
We're going to have some things to say about that, but you keep going.
My least favorite Alien movie is Alien, also known as Alien Cubed, also known as Alien 3.
Really?
Yeah. I have so many things to say. Is it further down your list?
It is, yes, it is a little further down my list.
All right. Well, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Alien Resurrection.
Same. Oh my God, let's talk about it. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to go first and mention a couple of things really quick that are like funny to think about, that's going around the movie.
Before you do, though, I just want everyone to know that Alien Resurrection was the first Alien movie I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Yes, it was. I remember my dad had it on DVD, and he said, let's watch it. I said, okay. And I was like 8 or 9 when I saw it, and I was like, okay, that was kind of cool.
The first Alien movie that I saw was Prometheus.
Oh, really?
Because I saw it, yeah.
Did you see it in theaters?
No, it was, I think around this time, I wasn't like a movie theater goer, but I was just watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at my aunt's house, and my uncle came over. He had a bootleg copy of Prometheus, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll watch Prometheus." Everyone was talking about it. I guess I heard some rumblings, and then I watched it. And I was like, "Interesting." So Alien Resurrection, some weird things that are going on in terms of like who made this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Pitoff, the director of Catwoman, did the special effects for this film.
Yes.
Joss Whedon wrote the script, and it was shot by Darius Kanji, who DP'd Seven, and I also think he DP'd The Game, which are David Fincher movies, and David Fincher directed the previous Alien movie, which is the worst one. which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so I thought those were just weird things, like all of those elements coming together. And also, it's directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who is a very weird French filmmaker. I don't know if you've seen any of his movies.
No, I don't think I have.
He did a movie 6 years prior to this called Delicatessen, which is a fun post-apocalyptic movie inside of like an apartment building, and it's very weird and fun. And then he did Amelie, which came out 4 years after this, which is
Okay, yeah, that movie's good. I like Amelie.
yeah, that's like entry-level French cinema at this point, and it's really great. But this movie is not great.
It's weird how you said that the DP worked on Seven, because I was gonna say like a lot of what is on screen is kind of okay sometimes. I'm like, okay, it looks fine sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying to remember a specific part, like maybe like when she was in like the alien nest or whatever, and she's just like laying in it. I was like, okay, this looks kind of interesting.
When they kidnapped her?
Yeah, I was like, this is interesting.
Is it, though?
The scene itself, but like it looks okay. I'm like, I'll give it that.
It definitely had a lot more visually going on than Alien 3 did.
Oh, good lord, yes.
Which is something that, like, they both take place in one location, but visually, Resurrection does have a lot more going on, or at least they try to. It's funny because that scene brought up a lot of plot questions that I had about this movie that make no sense to me. So, like, there's a couple of things I want to know about this movie. One, how are they making the eggs if the alien queen that they have can reproduce all by herself?
Mm-hmm.
And why do the xenomorphs still need to steal humans if she doesn't need to lay eggs anymore? I don't understand. I don't know if I missed something. Like, I don't get it. What I understand from it is the guy who had like the xenomorph. The guy who had the xenomorph. I can't talk. What the hell? The guy who had the xenomorph boner in this movie, because in every movie there's a guy who has a boner for this freaking animal, which is so weird, because like in the beginning it sort of made sense for like defense, like acid for blood. I get it, but I don't get why they think the xenomorph is like this perfect thing. Like it never connected with me. I just don't understand it. It's so weird. But in this movie, I sort of get it once the guy with the xenomorph. Once the guy with the xenomorph boner reveals that the xenomorph can reproduce by itself, and then makes the big boy xenomorph, which is so ugly. Mm-hmm. I hate it.
Yeah,
I don't think I hate it as much as everyone else hates it, but I just like, ew, this is bad.
It doesn't look good. It looks very bad.
He looks like Barney, but bleached.
Ooh, and the facial expressions it does too.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of it real quick. It's so gross.
It's like when Blue cried in Jurassic Park 5.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things in this movie. I think the ladder scene after they're chased underwater is one of the worst scenes in the entire saga. I don't know if you agree. It just like the staging is weird, like where all the actors are and like what they're doing. The things that happen in it are nonsensical. Like, I think when the paralyzed guy is holding on to the ladder, and I think Ron Perlman is, like, upside down shooting, but he's, like, missing the guy somehow that's underneath him to shoot the xenomorph. It's so stupid. I don't understand it. And also, like, anyone who fell into the water died automatically, even though the drop is, like, less than 20 feet. What is that?
I don't even know.
That doesn't make any sense. One thing that I wrote that I honestly don't remember, I wrote, they nuked Earth, ? I don't know why I wrote that. Did they nuke Earth? They didn't nuke Earth, because Winona Ryder and Sigourney Weaver are like looking at Earth beautifully. I don't know why I wrote that. Didn't they explode something and it was like close to Earth or something?
I don't remember, to be honest. They exploded something, yeah. But I'm not sure if it was Earth or not.
I guess when I'm editing it, I'll show it, and then I'll write some text.
Okay.
That'll explain why I wrote that, because I'll watch it again while I'm editing it, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's why I wrote that, but I honestly don't remember why I wrote that.
But I have written down aliens swimming are cool, so that's just something I wanted to say real quick, that aliens swimming are cool.
It looked pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I was like, this is cool. Look at them. They look all creepy.
Do you have anything else to say about it? Because all I really have left to say about Alien Resurrection is that it barely feels like an Alien movie sometimes. And it's really bad. Like, some people will say that Alien Resurrection is the worst Alien movie. But the thing that I think it has on Alien 3, and I guess we'll get to it later, is that it's not fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's not relentlessly boring. So it held my interest because of how ridiculous it was.
It did try to break new ground, didn't it? With the thing, the creature thing.
Yeah, it tried. It tried. It thought it was doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have anything else to say about this film?
Maybe you guys shouldn't start with this film if you're looking to start in the Alien franchise. Start with something a little better.
What would you give this film out of 10?
I'm gonna give Alien Resurrection a 3 out of 10.
Oh, interesting. I gave it a 4.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, all the performances were like fine. Also, I forgot to mention this. The scene where they're doing the intercom thing through Winona Ryder, I thought that looked pretty cool. But yeah, 4 out of 10. Don't need to think about it ever again.
Nope.
We're good. What's your number 4? What's your 4th worst Alien movie? Or your 4th best, sorry.
My 4th best is Alien 3.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about it now.
Okay.
So, some things that I thought were weird, or just things that are worth mentioning. 1, it's boring. 2, Sigourney Weaver's eye contact when she has like her blood clot or whatever in her eye, it keeps moving and it's very distracting. The xenomorph comes out of the dog, but it already has all of its limbs. That's strange.
They're trying to break new ground with that one, I think.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like whatever. Tell me how you feel about Alien 3. Tell me all about it.
I think that after Aliens, they could have, like, tried a little bit harder, I guess. Because Aliens was, like, this groundbreaking piece... Well, this quote-unquote groundbreaking piece of cinema.
No, put your dick on the table.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I feel like they just could have did a little more with it. It didn't really feel like a good enough sequel to what has come already.
Wait, so you're telling me that having 500 writers...
Oh yeah, didn't this have a bunch of people writing it? I forgot.
And they also went to the effort of hiring an up-and-coming music video filmmaker and then actively trying to destroy the movie and ruin him. There's a fun little clip of David Fincher talking smack about 20th Century Fox while they're in the middle of shooting.
It's amazing to me that Fox is #1 studio in the country because they're all such a bunch of morons.
I guess the problems that I have with Alien 3, besides the fact that it's boring, is that like visually it's just bad. I like there are so many Fincherisms in the movie visually, like the low angle shots where they're like pointing straight up into the ceiling, but I hate how bright it is.
Yeah.
There are barely any shadows in this movie, and tonally it's supposed to feel like the first movie. That's sort of like the mood of the movie, because it's like it's not really an action movie in the same way that Aliens is, which Aliens doesn't even fully commit to that at points, because it does try to be like Alien 1 in a way, which we'll get into later. But yeah, it's weird that it's going for like this horror thing, but there's no darkness at all. It just feels like different shades of light. There'll be like highlights and midtones, but no shadows. It's very weird and boring. There's like a couple of wide shots sometimes, and then there's nowhere to look because you can see everything. It's not like I'm trying to find the xenomorph in the frame when the actors are like looking around. I'm like, what's the point of this? Because that happens in the better movies and it's cool. But yeah, that doesn't work for me at all. I thought the cremation scene had very weird tone issues because it was like intercutting the death of Newt and Hicks, and it was also intercutting with a dog being infected with a xenomorph. Like, did you feel that too? Like what movie are you trying to make here?
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to take the best aspects of Alien and Aliens and trying to combine them, but like those are two totally different films altogether, and we'll get more into that when we talk about Aliens. But like, it feels like they didn't really know.
It sounds like
direction.
Somebody really wants to talk about Aliens.
Because because I have something to say that might be like kind of a hot take, but
I do too, actually. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. Also, Newt and Hicks dying in the prologue is insanely lame.
yeah, it sucks.
And I know it's been talked about a bunch. I'm pretty sure you have this same feeling. I'm pretty sure everyone watching who's seen Alien 3 has this same feeling. And there might be some psychos who have seen Alien 3 and think it's the best movie of all time and give it a 10 out of 10. They're like, I fucking love that Newt and Hicks died in the beginning. It's stupid. They set them up in Aliens to have character, and there's like potential for growth, and then they just like snuff it out. And I don't have anything wrong with the prison setting. They could have used the prison setting as a dynamic to make the characters interact with Ripley in a different way, you know, especially with Hicks, you know, being a man and dealing with a whole prison of men who whatever, and dealing with the gender dynamics and him being caught in the middle. That would be interesting. And Newt, like, growing up and seeing a different type of monster in the world besides, you know, the xenomorphs, and seeing that human beings can be also as awful as, you know, the xenomorphs did to her colony on LV-426. And Ripley in a tug of war with both of those characters. I feel like that could have been so much more interesting. And also, if they ended up dying in the movie, which I would have been fine with, you know, later in the movie, it would have made the loss seem more effective because, you know, we would have gotten more time with them. And when you watch Alien 3 just nakedly, it's like, okay, I don't care about these characters. What do they have to do with anything? And even like watching it back to back, there's still a disconnect because you're watching a completely different movie. It's just weird and bad. And also for Ripley's character, I think it would have been good to have them stay alive and, you know, interact with the movie, because then Ripley would have become just as alone as the prisoners were, and she would have been able to empathize with them more, besides the obvious, oh, there's a xenomorph here and we have to kill it. But like, there could have been more conflict, and there could have been a whole arc for her where she's becoming more alone, because in the beginning of Aliens she felt super alone because she lost so much in the first movie, and depending on which cut you watch, she loses a little bit more. It would have added to this like theme of loss being a central part of Ripley's character, but they just took it away and they just kept it super static. It makes for a very boring movie. Also, the third act is awful. The third act is so bad. The tunnel sequence is so dumb. The Sam Raimi camera thing is no bueno. I've never liked it. And it's so poorly used in this movie, especially with timing, because like the xenomorph decides how fast he wants to move very conveniently to add tension to the door being closed, but it just looks like they timed everything poorly, and I hate it. This is not a movie befitting of Ripley's death in any way, shape, or form to me. This is the worst Alien movie to me. I hate it. It's a 3 out of 10. Get out of my face. Gabagool. Boppity boopity.
I also gave this movie a 3 out of 10.
Oh, nice. Wait. Alien 3 was your fourth?
Alien 3 was my fourth.
Oh, okay, because you said Alien Covenant's the worst one to you.
Yeah. Which,
okay.
Is that your fourth?
It is my fourth.
Let's discuss.
All right. Since you hated it the most, I'll give you the floor.
This movie was so boring. Oh my goodness.
You think it's more boring than Alien 3?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I was literally sitting here and I was like trying not to go to sleep. I was like, I have to stay awake to do this. Like, I didn't do anything before. I was just watching and I was like, this is just taking me so much energy to try to watch this movie. It feels like nothing really happens throughout. I guess in the beginning there's like a 10-minute sequence of something running around in the grass or whatever, and that's the only thing happening like in the movie for a long while. Then like an hour 30 goes by and then something happens. I'm like, oh my god, we were really in like a cave with Michael Fassbender for this long.
What do you mean something happens? We can spoil the movie, it's fine.
Is that when the alien actually like comes out of someone and then starts running amok and then they have to fight it on the spaceship or whatever?
Alien Covenant?
Yeah.
No. Wait. When they run amok on the spaceship.
Like Alien is on top of a spaceship and it's like it looks all CGI.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the third act.
Yeah, that's when things started happening. But yeah, I was so bored. The fingering sequence with the flute. I said, okay. It feels like the whole movie just took place in that Michael Fassbender cave, and I was just not a fan, and I was like, this is not what Alien should be. It should be I mean, like, I know the other movies took place in like just spaceships and like also in one place throughout the whole movie, but like at least there was things happening. I mean, these people were just talking about like, oh, the alien is bad and we have to make it not do stuff like that. This place is bad and humans shouldn't be here. And I'm just like, ugh, please stop.
I think the reasons you hate Alien Covenant are the same reasons why I hate Alien 3 in a way, in like the broad ways. Like, I do agree that Alien Covenant is not as visually dynamic. I mean, there's things going on in it that are cool. Like, off the top of my head, I can think of like that one shot of the ship going over like that lake. I don't know if you remember that one. It's very cool.
Yeah, I do.
I think at a certain point you're like, okay, they're just standing around and talking
for so long.
But the flute scene was kind of cool because they were interacting. I mean, Michael Fassbender was interacting with himself in the same
that was
shot.
I liked that. That was cool. But like, just please, like, keep going.
How do you say Alien Covenant is better than Alien 3 when Alien 3 has worse visual effects? Remember when they tried to do CGI and you could see the green around the body?
Yeah, I do. But I still didn't fall asleep or almost fall asleep watching Alien 3, even though it was as boring.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Alien Covenant is just dumb, but it didn't bore me. I just thought it was super stupid. Okay. No helmets, going to a planet they didn't train for? Are you joking? They're smart enough to be on a ship going to another planet to make a colony. For some reason, these people aren't smart enough to understand history. Like, every time humans moved to a new place on Earth, they had to evolve to the conditions, and the natives didn't have the immune system to fight off the European diseases. Like, how are you smart and know things, but you don't see, like, going to an environment your body has never been to before as potentially dangerous? You know, even if there's oxygen, like, just because there's oxygen doesn't mean that you're automatically fine. Like, there are plants that can kill you, like how this movie does. Another weird thing was like how super contrived a lot of the deaths are. Like, they never established why the smoking guy wasn't allowed to smoke. Like, smoking has been a thing in pretty much every Alien movie up until that point, so I didn't get why he needed to like be like, oh, I need to fake peeing to go smoke. The first death in the med bay or whatever, that was so funny. Just the slapstick comedy of just like slipping on a banana peel. And the girl, she just shoots everything and just dies. She like blows up the entire ship.
Yeah.
I thought the visual effects were pretty good until the xenomorphs arrived. Like, the second that they appear, even in baby form, it just looks awful. Like, they didn't even try to like hide it or like mix it in with the practical effects, which is a very weird thing for Ridley Scott to do, because usually his movies look very good, and this one just looks super thrown together.
It was just a quick response to Prometheus, though, right? Like, this movie itself.
Well, it's a full 5 years after. They had time to figure it out. And Prometheus looks immensely better than this movie does.
High key.
Which we'll get into probably soon.
Yeah.
We'll see. I thought Michael Fassbender's wig is like amazing in this movie. Like, it looks so real. Like, you know it's a wig just because of how they had to shoot it. I mean, it's pretty clear that wigs were involved, but it looks pretty damn good, and usually wigs look awful. Another thing I did really just like, I was like scratching my head, was just like the tone issues in the third act when the xenomorph is just like on the top of the ship. Like, the middle of the film is trying to be like this Prometheus adjacent type experience, and then it's just like, nope, we're a big blowy up movie where a xenomorph is like riding on top of the ship like a bad guy on a car.
Yeah, like Batman in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, or like Michael Myers in Halloween 4. Also, I think the end is bad.
I was gonna ask you, how do you feel about the reveal?
It could have been fine it didn't stick to Catherine Waterston's character's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And if it did, it would have been a better twist. But we don't. And then we get that stupid shot of David looking back like, oh, yeah, it's pretty goddamn clear what's about to happen, which apparently was Ridley Scott's intention. He's said this. But, like, it doesn't work because it just makes me feel like you're treating me like an idiot. Even though that's not what you were going for. I think he was trying to go for an inevitability thing, but it doesn't work. And it's just like you're waiting for it to happen, and not in like a dreadful way. You're just like, oh my God, are we really gonna do all that? Like, it's just, I hate it. Or even if they didn't stick to the point of view and they just showed David trying to be more like Walter, and showing him trying to hide who he really was to them. Like if we knew full on what was happening, and we can have like that, the dramatic, what was it called that we learned in English class, where we know something where the audience knows something that the protagonist doesn't. It's you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Because I just defined it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been fine if they did it that way, but they didn't, and it's dumb. But yeah, do you have what else do you have to say? I mean, you can expand on that, but
only thing I have left to say is that I'm giving this a 3 out of 10, just like the other two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, 3 out of 10s. 3 out of 10s. Dang. I don't know what I gave. I think I gave it like a 4. Yeah, I gave it a 4. Interesting. This is my prediction.
Okay.
Our number 3 is going to be the same, and our 2 and 1 are going to be the same. I think all 3 of ours are going to be the same. The way we've been talking,
let's see right now.
I know what it is. All right. What's your number 3?
Prometheus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called it. Yes.
It's crazy because when this movie came out, everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. But, like, it's not really terrible.
It's actually, like...
It's kind of good.
Good. Yeah.
It's kind of a good movie. Like...
There are some dumb things
definitely,
in it,
definitely.
But I think the good infinitely outweighs the bad.
Yes. Quick shout out to Charlize not moving to the right or left, though, because she could have just did that.
She could have. Noomi Rapace could have done the same thing. I think that's how you say her name. But she could have done that too. Mm-hmm. Everyone could have just moved a little bit to the right.
I think my main thing with this is the quote unquote pregnancy scene with like.
What about it?
It was just very unsettling, and that was like very memorable.
The visual effects looked amazing on that.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best sequences in the whole saga.
Mm-hmm.
And it deals with the pregnancy thing in a way that Alien 3 just simply couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's so gross.
Did this movie have the same opening as all the other Alien movies, like with the dots on screen and then it says Prometheus, or no?
I don't think so.
Because when I first saw this, like back in the day, I had no idea that it would be like related to Alien at all, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I saw at the end, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a xenomorph. That's cool. It's that thing from that movie.
It's that suit from that comic. Okay, we already said the C-section scene was good, so don't need to talk about the C-section scene anymore. It's been talked about to death.
Yeah. The performances?
Yeah, this is the first one where we're actually going to talk about acting. Because the acting in this movie is so good.
It's phenomenal, and it's, like, insane.
Noomi Rapace is like amazing in it. Mm-hmm. She's like the most watchable character we've had since Ripley. She has so many good scenes where she shines. Like when Wayland meets the engineer and the engineer claps him. She's good in that. In the scene where she's talking to her husband about the fact that she can't create life, she's great in that. Also, like her commitment to her wounds are amazing. Like everything leading up to the C-section scene and then post C-section scene. I loved that. She's just overall incredible in it. I thought Charlize, for like the 2 seconds she's in it, she was amazing. Mm-hmm. And Michael Fassbender just like really just stole the movie hard.
He really did.
He's just like, oh, this movie, it's mine. He had this really good balance of giving us the robot sound, like his vocal inflection, like he sounded like a robot, but he wasn't like doing a caricature of a robot. Mm-hmm. And it's not like a joke. It reminds me of Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump. Like if he just went a little bit too much, he could have crashed and burned.
Mm-hmm. They were low-key the best since Alien, since the first Alien, and I really gravitated towards all of the
Since the first Alien, or Aliens, or both?
Since the first Alien.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. You're making this a hard read, Glenn. I'm trying to predict in my mind what you think 2 and 1 are going to be. I guess we could talk about the things that we don't like about it, because I'm sure I'll get into more things that I like about it in a second. So in the beginning of every Alien movie, they like sort of like give you like that text of like where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah.
They changed the distance thing for some reason. Like they usually say like light years or whatever, but like they just made it a math problem, like as if we were supposed to solve it in the time that we could see the title card. Like we have to write down like the numbers. Like that was really stupid and confusing, and I didn't enjoy that. I thought Charlize was a little bit too fast on the trigger when she torched Elizabeth Shaw's boo. Thought that was a little like the pacing of that scene. I thought it was a little bit too quick. Like she was like, "Oh yeah, I just want to fucking murder this guy," even though they've barely interacted in the entire movie. So that was a very weird scene. How did the geologist get lost?
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, Chief. The egg hatching scene was pretty dumb too. Like, how does the biologist not know that a hissing animal you should get away from it? Like, that's a common defense mechanism.
Yeah.
But I guess he thought that he was safe because he had his helmet on. So, like, I guess is fine. Like it's dumb, but also I get it. I mean, we mentioned it, but I'll go over it again. They didn't have to run straight. That was real dumb. I did not enjoy that.
I think that's the meme of this movie. Like, what makes a lot of people know about it is that they could have just went left or right.
It's the CinemaSins meme. Thank you, CinemaSins, for ruining movie criticism. Thank you so much. I have a question about the kamikaze part right before that, because like it kind of threw me off. Like Idris Elba, Benedict Wong, and the other guy were totally cool about just killing themselves. Even if it meant, like, I know that they were trying to save humanity, like that was the point, but they were just like, they didn't think twice about killing themselves. I just thought that was strange. Or maybe they didn't know that crashing into another ship would result in their death. Like that part was too fast for me in terms of like character beats. Do you have any opinion on that part?
I was just like whatever to it, to be honest.
So you thought it was fine?
Yeah, it was fine.
Another weird thing, I thought there was a point where Elizabeth Shaw put it together that David is responsible for her boyfriend's death, but that was never resolved or brought up at the end when they reunite. Like, it just... There's a scene, I forget which scene it is. I think it's when she sees Wayland, that Wayland is alive. I thought there was a part in there, or somewhere else in the movie, where it looks like she's putting it together that David is behind everything and that he's responsible for her lover's death.
But yeah, they don't really just do anything with it. They just ignore it completely.
I did think that when she found him and like the visual effects of like his head, I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it looked really good.
I thought that was so good. Oh, and to go back to Alien 3 really quick, speaking of that, I thought the revival of Bishop, when she revives Bishop, I thought that looked amazing as well. And a huge improvement upon Alien when, what's his name? When they bring him back to life.
Yeah.
Bad. Another weird thing about Prometheus, like the production design not being in continuity with Alien at all is so strange, given the fact that it takes place like 20 or 30 years before the events of Alien. It doesn't make any sense. Like, even if they're different types of ships, like one looks like it was made 500 years in the future, and the other one looks like it was made 50 years ago, and they don't look similar at all. Even in like the costume design of the suits, like they went from a non-obtrusive ventilation system in their suits to needing a blowhole in the future for CO2. Like, I think it would have been immensely cooler if they just stuck to that like retro feel and just keeping it all in the same universe. Like, as time went on and movies began to look at the future in like a more quote-unquote futuristic way, I think it would have made the Alien movies stand out more and look more and feel more gritty as time went on. But whatever, thinking about things, why would we do that? That's crazy.
I think the continuity of like the whole series is just like very iffy.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else I really dislike about it. I think the film is super easy to follow and not pretentious at all. People who say that this film is pretentious or hard to follow or like ambiguous are either morons or they weren't paying attention. I thought it was pretty intriguing, even if it doesn't fully explain everything, which is fine. Like, I think people put a lot of their expectations on this movie. And also it is in keeping with the Alien movies prior to it, or at least the good ones, where the people are trying to find something and then everyone dies.
Do you think that this movie could have been a expectation subverter when it was released in theaters, maybe?
No, I don't think it subverted expectations. I think it just underwhelmed people.
Yeah.
Based on what I've heard. Because they were like, oh, this is going to be like the greatest movie of all time. It's going to answer everything. And like expecting that of a Hollywood movie is very strange. I thought it was interesting, the engineer wanting to kill the human beings, which sort of mirrored the humans' contempt for David, because they created David. And they sort of have a level of contempt for him.
Yeah.
I really liked the motif in this movie. I think in this movie and in Covenant, there's some nice, like, alien themes or whatever, like the music, but I don't remember them at all, and I don't know why. So I guess my final thought on Prometheus is that it seems to me like with every other Alien sequel, they were more interested in the xenomorphs, and they were more obsessed with the idea of the xenomorph than they were with the characters. And Prometheus is like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
And even though some of the characters in Prometheus are like really dumb and they do stupid things, every good part about Prometheus, I think, is better than every good part about any of the movies we just talked about.
Yeah.
And I'm giving Prometheus a 7 out of 10.
Ooh, a 7. I'm giving Prometheus a 6 out of 10.
Dang. I liked something more than you did. That's universally hated. All right.
All right.
So this is the moment of truth.
Yes.
Because when we know number 2, we'll know number 1. And I think I know what yours is because I think it's the same as mine. Just what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Aliens.
Oh.
What?
Interesting.
Is that not your number 2?
My number 2, this is a hot take.
Uh-oh.
Is Alien.
Oh, gosh.
I said it. Yeah, I said it. So your number 1 is Alien. And my number 1 is Aliens. That's interesting.
That's a very hot take.
It is a hot take, isn't it? Because I was going to have them as tied. I thought about it because that's my thought process for so long. I was like, these movies are equally the same in quality. But then when I watch them back to back, I do not think that anymore. I think Aliens is the best Alien movie.
I do not.
All right. Lay it on me.
So in Alien, that movie is like genuinely a horror film. That movie is edge of your seat, claustrophobia, scary, oh my gosh, don't go around the corner type of movie. And then Aliens is just this huge, big budget action adventure pew pew explosion thing that James Cameron was like, okay, we gotta make it as crazy as we can. It's still a good movie, but like I think it loses what made Alien special, kind of. I was like, okay, I'm just here for a good time, not a long time, I guess. Whereas with like Alien, I was like, oh, this movie is
a good
great.
Time, not a long time. Aliens is the longest Alien movie. What are you saying? You lied. What you just said was a lie.
It's the all the aspects of horror that just kind of didn't seem like they were there from the first one, I guess. It feels like a huge deviation from Alien.
And that's not a positive for you.
No, it's not.
But every other movie we got that was trying to be a horror movie is bad.
Yeah, but it's still, I feel like all the other movies are trying to play off of Alien and Aliens, whereas Aliens is just trying to be its own thing, kind of, and it just didn't really work for me.
All right, Glenn, you keep hurting my feelings. I don't agree with the characterization of Aliens, that it's a big pew-pew action movie. I mean, there are pew-pew moments. There are a ton of them. But I think Aliens does a lot of similar things that Alien does without committing to the griminess of Alien. It has a lot of Steven Spielberg-isms in it. Not like in the way it's shot or anything, but the idea that it's like not a horror movie, but there are a lot of horror elements in it. Like the first half of the movie, depending on which cut you watch, there aren't a lot of action sequences. You don't really see the xenomorphs at all. Like the tracking sequence when they first touch down on LV-426 again is like 20 minutes of just like cautiously walking around trying to find something that may or may not be there. And then as soon as we do find them, or as soon as they find us, it goes off the rails. And I think even some of the things that Alien does, I think horror-wise, I think it does better than Alien does to a certain extent, especially with like the way that they were able to hide the xenomorphs in the production design and sort of the sets, and the way that they just pop out of nowhere is amazing. Like, I never saw it coming every single time. And even this time when I watched it again, there were points, I mean, in certain shots, you're like, oh, there's some negative space there. Maybe there will be a xenomorph there. But the way it just pops out, you're like, whoa, wait, I didn't like literally see it there. And it got me pretty good. I was like, damn, all right, James Cameron. So that's my rebuttal to you, buddy. I have more to say, but do you want to talk about Alien or Aliens in full first?
Let's talk about Aliens first.
Okay. Let's talk about the best Alien movie. No problem. So it's not perfect. I don't think either of these movies are perfect. I'd say that they're both 9 out of 10s, but I just think Aliens is a better movie. So some of the cons that I have for Aliens, the motion sensors, like for some reason when a squad mate walks in front of them, the motion sensor doesn't go off. It doesn't make any sense, but then there's a point later in the film where they're using the motion sensor, and then one of the characters is like, oh, that's because it's going off because we're right in front of each other. Like, they acknowledge it then, but they didn't acknowledge it when the characters were literally walking in front of the motion sensor. Mm-hmm. Some of the backgrounds look rough, not as much as Alien, but when they're going into the planet, there's like a shot where the ship is going into the clouds, and it looked bad when they could have just stayed with the other shots that they had, which looked amazing. Mm-hmm. And also when Ripley is like waiting for Bishop to come back, it doesn't look awful, but it's a tad rough. And that's mostly like the electricity stuff.
I think that's just because of the time.
But the rest of it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm. Do these movies have the same ending, low-key?
They have the same final shot, but it's different.
Yeah. One's the queen and then one's just a regular.
No, I mean, one is Ripley sleeping with the cat, and then next to Newt. But there is a showdown on a ship at the end of each of them. Mm-hmm. What else do I not like about it? Nope, that's it. Everything else I love. I'll just go into the things that I love about it. First of all, Vasquez, a total hottie. She does the pull-up bars before Sarah Connor. So we give all this credit to Sarah Connor for doing I'm buff girl stuff, but Vasquez did it first. It's another whitewashing of cinema history. Yeah. Like I said before, Aliens builds up the tension very well because in the first hour, it's using our knowledge of the first movie against us, and we're expecting an alien, and when it hits us, there's a whole lot going on. There's more aliens. They also do the same thing with Bishop, where Bishop is he's perceived as the bad guy because of what we saw I forgot his name in the first movie. God damn it, why am I forgetting? You know who I'm talking about. The synthetic. I'm looking at... Oh, Ash. Yeah. His name is Ash. So, like, you expect Bishop to be a bad guy once you see that he's a synthetic, and it turns that on its head, which is something that James Cameron did in Terminator 2. And hot take, everything that people like about Terminator 2, James Cameron did it in Aliens first. So we need to be respecting aliens more is basically what I'm saying. This movie is so goddamn good. There's so many #lit metaphors in this movie. I love the theme of like motherhood, which is a thing that occurs throughout the film, whether you're talking, depending on which cut you watch, of, Ripley dealing with the fact that she lost her daughter because she was asleep for so long, and then meeting Newt and gaining a new daughter and like having that relationship, and then also having to fight the alien queen who has her own babies, and it's two mothers duking it out at the end, which is very cool. The Vietnam metaphor in this movie is incredible. I love it so much.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
One of the things is that I think might be more hidden than the other stuff is the animosity that the grunts have toward the lieutenant. In Vietnam, the grunts, the privates, the corporals, they always hated the lieutenant, usually because The lieutenant was more educated and didn't understand their experience and weren't as close to them as the sergeants were, which is sort of the case in this movie as well, because the sergeant is well respected in this group, and they are super depressed when he dies, but they don't care about the lieutenant at all. Mm-hmm. Hudson, he yells, "I was getting short," which is a term that was used in Vietnam, which meant that their tour was about to end and they were going to go home. The humans were going to that planet to go colonize and change it in their image, like what America was going to do to Vietnam, and change it from like communism to capitalism. An incident occurs that prompts the soldiers to invade. In real life, it was the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, which was a complete sham. And in this movie, it's the colonization or whatever, the colony getting their cheeks clapped. The soldiers get clapped by the locals, but in the end, we just bomb them to Kingdom Come and lose a lot more than we gained, which is literally Vietnam. Also, the aliens use guerrilla tactics and hide in plain sight like the Viet Cong did. Like, just imagine today someone making a sequel to a horror movie and then turning it into an action horror movie that is also about the Vietnam War, or the Iraq War, I guess, which would be
the most relevant.
Yeah. That's crazy. James Cameron really did his thing in this movie, and it's great. What else? Oh, the helicopter crash sequence is excellent. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you agree. I think it's incredible. I think it's a amazing blend of practical and I guess like special effects. I guess that's because computer generated effects weren't completely a thing yet as we know them, but like the backgrounds being matted, I guess, and then having like perspective. Like I'm pretty sure they didn't just like have that helicopter hurling toward the actors like that, but it flows in this cool way that I think is very cool. Mm-hmm. Acid actually matters in this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What a concept. It is a part of almost every single fight. The acid is a factor, whether or someone shoots one of the xenomorphs and then they get acid on them, or Ripley running over a xenomorph and then the tire just stops working and then she's just literally driving on the axle. Mm-hmm. I like how more mobile the aliens are in this movie as opposed to the first movie, because there's points in Alien where the xenomorph loses its charm for me because like it moves or it doesn't move in a very weird way, and it looks like they were still trying to figure it out. Like if they would have cut certain shots by like half a second, I wouldn't feel that way, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I love what the movie had to say about corporations are bad, obviously. I love me a good old smashing of capitalism. That's fun.
Of course.
ACAB. I think the choice to shoot this film in widescreen, or full screen, full screen as opposed to widescreen, really helps this movie, because Alien is shot in widescreen with the black bars on the top and bottom, and Aliens is shot in full screen, so you can see the entire screen. And I think it adds to the action so much more because you can see more of it. It's sort of like not like IMAX or anything, because it's literally not the same thing, but you get the experience of seeing more on the screen, which makes the action even better. Or even when the Marines are like patrolling the hallways and their guns are like swinging in front of the camera with the wide lenses. I noticed, it's pretty obvious that the film feels less organic in an aesthetic way. Like it feels very 80s, but I think it adds to what the movie is trying to comment on and what it's trying to criticize, which I think adds another layer when you're looking at the movie aesthetically. And I think it makes the movie even more better, which is something I can appreciate more about Aliens. There's a specific scene in this movie that I think is a wonderful example of how good James Cameron is as a director. There's a scene where Newt is getting tucked in by Ripley, and the color progression in that scene is so good. The scene starts off with a mixture of orange and blue light, which is something that I've, railed on a couple of times on this channel, but it's obviously displaying the contrast of warmth that Ripley is trying to bring in with the cold that Newt feels because of how she's lost everything. And as the scene progresses and as Ripley gains Newt's trust more and more, that has already been established prior, the blue is sort of removed from the scene and it just becomes orange and just shadows, and they're like overwhelmed with the warmth. And I think it ends with them cuddling or something, or them hugging, and I thought it's done very well. And also color just evolves throughout the movie, like in the scene where the power goes out and the aliens are, you know, coming into the room, but everything turns red and all you can see are black and red. Like with the red you feel like a sense of danger, and with the black you're either looking at a shadow or you're looking at a xenomorph, and you may or may not know it. So I think that's very cool. The Alien Queen, I think, is one of the best practical effects of all time.
High key.
The way she claps Bishop is so cool. You're so conflicted because you're like, damn, can I have an instant replay of him getting ripped in half? Also, Bishop being dragged across the ground by the vacuum of space at the end is so cool because he's moving, yet he's able to like the actor is able to move too, but you don't see his lower half of the body. Like, I don't know how they did that. There's a couple of like hammy performances, but I think that ties into the Vietnam thing. But overall, I think the characters are extremely strong, and we get like a truer sense of who Ripley is and what drives her. And it's more apparent in the special edition because we learn that she was a mother. But also, I just think that Sigourney Weaver is incredible in this movie. You feel her urgency and like her dread and her warmth in just about every scene in this movie, and I think she's great. And she was nominated for an Oscar for this movie. Also, I don't remember the actor who plays Newt, but all of her nonverbal parts I think were great.
Yeah, they were incredible.
Yeah. Whenever she wasn't talking, I liked it. She has moments where it's like, oof, but it's not too bad. And you connect with her connection to Sigourney Weaver. The nuke scene in this movie, when the nuke goes off, looks a lot better than Alien. Fight me. It looks so much better.
No, it does. It definitely does.
And I think how they expanded the lore in this movie is quite good and better than when most movies try to expand the lore in a sequel. And I think Aliens is the best Alien movie, and I think it's great, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I love it. I said everything. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I said it earlier, but I was like, I prefer the slow horror elements of Alien compared to this one, even though Aliens does play on a lot of the horror elements. I was like, I don't know. It's still a great film, and it's always going to be a classic forever because of just the way it is, but I prefer Alien to it. And I'm giving Aliens an 8 out of 10, not a 9.
Wow, that's crazy. How dare you? Wow, that's insane.
No, I think it's still great though.
Yeah, but it's a 9. And also, I want to throw out another hot take since I'm hot taking it up over here. Aliens, the theatrical cut is better than the special edition. I know I read it on Reddit that people, I guess the thing is that the special edition is better because you get to see more and stuff, but the special edition is worse. Yeah, well, the special edition, first of all, is more or less the same in terms of the cutting in a way that the director's cut of Alien isn't. Like, the director's cut of Alien is straight up a different cut of the movie. In Aliens, special edition is just the same cut with scenes put back in. So it's more or less the same movie. The theatrical cut of Alien before the credits, like when it cuts off, is 2 hours and 14 minutes and 23 seconds. And the special edition is 2 hours and 31 minutes and 33 seconds. So it's, what is math? It's 17 minutes and 10 seconds longer. Which we honestly didn't need. I just want to point out all the differences and in the special edition really quick before we move on to Alien, the second best Alien movie. The scene after Ripley's nightmare where the chest burster comes out of her in the hospital bed, Ripley has another scene with Burke and we find out she has a daughter and that she died. I don't like this scene. I like what it does character-wise, but those things already happen, like Newt and Ripley have a mother-daughter relationship, and when they clash with the Queen, it's still the same. But in the writing, with her having a daughter before, it adds a little bit more. But Sigourney Weaver is not good in this scene, and I'm glad they cut it. She pushed a little too hard. She didn't have to push that hard. It felt like she was like trying to get a result. The take that they used is not good. Mm-hmm. So the scene where Ripley finds out about LV-426 getting colonized, they add a chunk where her license gets revoked to do her old job, which is something that gets called back to in a later scene. And even in the theatrical cut, they talk about her not having her license, but I guess they felt like that didn't need to be explained because it had been so long that they didn't need to explain why she wouldn't be able to be qualified to do a job that she had 50 years ago. So I guess that makes sense, but they added that in the special edition. So after that scene, 2 new sequences from LV-426 are added, where we see the colony doing colony stuff, and we meet Newt and her family as they discover the engineer ship from the first film, and her dad's cheeks get clapped by a facehugger. The following scene, where Ripley is asked to go back to LV-426, a line is added where Ripley asks what Burke's interest is in going back, which I understand them cutting it because it foreshadows, his turn later in the film. And without that line, Burke is extremely more likable up until he turns on her, which I understand why they cut that, which I think is I think it's better that they cut it, honestly. In the ship, when they leave Earth, we get 2 extra shots of the armory where we see the locker room, the forklift, and the cafeteria, which extends to the cryopods, which is consistent with the visual language of Alien and gives us a better feel of the geography of the ship. And in the original cut, we only get part of the second shot where the cafeteria extends into the cryopods. And I wish that those extra shots were in the theatrical cut. In the drop scene where they're dropping into LV-426 from the other ship, we get a few more seconds added where Hudson flexes in front of Ripley about how cool he is and how all the weapons that they have are super cool. Mm-hmm. In the sequence where the Marines are clearing the base, there's a part added where Hudson picks up something on his sensor, but it's rats in one of those like playground thingies for rats. Not cages, but like the plastic boxes or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We get an extra scene of Ripley, Burke, Bishop, and the lieutenant entering the building from the tank after the Marines have cleared the building. But Ripley has reservations about entering the building, and it sort of sets up her kinship with Hicks because Hicks looks behind and looks at her, and they have an exchange of reaction shots. The scene where they check their inventory after the helicopter crash, a quick part is added where Hicks mentions the fact that they have sentry guns, which is a part of the standoff sequence that is added where the sentries are holding off an even larger number of xenomorphs, which is sort of the biggest part of the film that's added in. And it's also, although there's a part of it that is cool, it creates so many plot holes that I'm glad they cut it, which we will get into in a second. The scene after that where they're looking at the map, they removed some parts mentioning the sentries and elongated some shots, which adds more romantic tension between Ripley and Hicks. Mm-hmm. So they just basically cut out the sentry part. The sequence after that, there's a scene where Hudson and Vasquez test the sentries, and there's another shot of the other sentries in the hallway. After that, in the scene where Ripley tucks in Newt, there's some dialogue about Ripley's dead daughter that Newt is like, oh, did you have a daughter? And blah, blah, blah. And it adds to the scene. But again, don't really need it. The scene after that, Hudson hypothesizes about an alien queen, which is fine, but I also like the idea that the alien queen just sort of just is a thing and we don't find out until the end. The scene after Ripley confronts Burke about bringing the xenomorphs to Earth, there's a scene where the sentries and the tunnels are used, and they run out of bullets and they're shooting all the xenomorphs. Mm-hmm. And the way it's presented is pretty smart by showing the ammo counter instead of just showing all the xenomorphs getting bodied, which would have probably cost a lot more and probably would have looked bad. But it messes with the continuity of the actors because they aren't worried at all if there are any more aliens where the sentries are. It's just weird. Oh, they ran out of ammo, so that means there's no more aliens? That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. It feels like they're still waiting for them to show up because once they do show up, the performances eventually change and they become more urgent. But the aliens were already coming when the sentries were going off and the sentries ran out of ammo, so that means there's more aliens. It's very weird. There's like a lot of scenes of like downtime in between the sentry scenes, which make no sense, and it ruins the performances. So I think cutting the sentries out of the theatrical cut entirely was a very good move because it improves the plot inconsistencies and it makes the performances better, like I just said. They do address the logic of the aliens after the second set of sentries go, where they're like, oh, they're running away, but like, why weren't they worried about this when the first set of sentries ran out of ammo? That doesn't make any sense. It ruins the logic. When Ripley is about to leave the ship to go save Newt, there's a small amount added where Ripley and Hicks profess their like for each other, and they exchange first names. And Hicks's first name is Dwayne. But the rest of it is virtually unchanged, and there are no radical cuts to tighten or change the flow of the movie, but it's just plot points that were gutted, which I'm glad they were, and the theatrical cut is better. The theatrical cut is the better cut, so...
Good, because that's the one I watched.
Yeah, so you saw the best version.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the second best Alien movie.
This movie is so good. I love how it is very contained. I love the tone of the movie throughout. It feels creepy. It's something you can watch. It's literally like a Halloween film that you can watch and be like, oh my gosh, I feel fulfilled. Unlike other horror movies that are out now. It's something that you don't really see from Hollywood anymore. It feels like kind of a smaller budget indie film, low-key. Even though the first chestburster scene is kind of iffy, it's still a good movie, and I love it.
What don't you like about Alien?
It does take a little bit to get started, I guess, and it can seem kind of slow, but then it picks up really fast, and you're like, oh, okay, I like that.
You think the pacing is an issue?
Not really to an extent, but it is kind of an issue.
Interesting. Okay.
And some of the effects are iffy, but also it came out in that year it came out, so
that's not an excuse.
I mean,
that's bullshit.
I mean, yeah. What year did Alien come out?
1979.
I'm trying to think.
2001: A Space Odyssey is a thing. I just want to put that out there while you're saying all that bullshit.
Shout out to Baby Space, but yeah.
You better stop it.
I'm trying to think what else. Oh, Star Wars came out in 1977, so
yeah.
Okay, maybe that is not an excuse.
It isn't.
Well, maybe the budget was also... Well, no, never mind. That's not an excuse either.
It had an $8 million budget. 8.4 or something. In the special features, Ridley Scott, when he was pitching the movie, there was originally a $4 million budget, but then he showed the producers and the studio people, I guess, all of his plans and his storyboards and all that stuff, and they doubled the budget for him. So that's cool. The visual effects are what really like holds this movie back for me. Even though some of it is like really great and cool, and I love the atmosphere and stuff, but some of the dated effects just really pull me out. Like the nuke scene is really rough. The Ash's head is rough.
The first chestburster scene, even though it's iconic, you can see like the pole, I guess, that's behind it. And
the pole?
There's like a little something that they use to push it through the body, and you can see it behind it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I noticed it ever since I first saw it. I was like, okay, yeah, this movie is old, but
I never noticed that. I guess when I watch it, I'll see what you're talking about. Maybe I do know what you're talking about, and I'm not seeing it, but
I want to say it's like a thin metallic pole that you can see like right behind the alien, and you're just like, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. So what I enjoy about Alien, well, the first time I saw it, I was really into the horror stuff, but the more I've seen it, the less I've been into the horror stuff, and because, I already know it's coming and it doesn't really have an effect on me. But what has stayed with me more now is a couple of things. So one, the score is amazing. Two, the drama pre-Alien I think is really good, actually. The engineers or whatever complaining about their money and the tension between the group. The quarantine, LOL. Oh yeah, we should have listened to Quarantine Protocol, and then people didn't, and then look what happened.
Yeah.
Like, this is worse than Jaws.
Yeah, everybody
like,
dies.
Rules exist for a reason.
Good Lord.
God damn. So yeah, I enjoyed that, and also I think, in contrast to what you said about the pacing, I think the pacing of this movie, especially, hot take, the theatrical cut, is so good, and being able to feel the pacing and understand how this movie works is what keeps me coming back now that I don't really feel any tension from it. And not a lot of movies can take their time like this and actually make it work. And the acting, I mentioned it briefly in like Jaws, but the performances are like, I don't want to say realistic, but they're grounded.
It's high-key stuff you like just don't see in film today, kind of. Well, not really film today, but like I guess
even in Ridley Scott's movies.
Yeah.
Oh, one quick negative that I completely forgot to add. There's a scene between Dallas and Ripley when John Hurt's character has the face hugger wrapped around him in the med bay, and Dallas and Ripley are arguing about Ash breaking quarantine protocol. And in the edit, the camera stays on Dallas to hide the fact that Ripley was out of focus for a good amount of it. And I just thought that was worth mentioning, even though the scene is good, you know, in terms of like characters and stuff. But I don't know if you feel this way, but like the movies after Aliens, the xenomorph is shown so much and shown in such low contrast lighting that the xenomorph in this film is kind of ruined for me. And I even think in this movie they could have shown it less, like what I said before about the aliens being less mobile and stuff. I think the less the better with this movie, especially with the visual effects. Like they were trying to figure it out because this was the first movie that they were trying to figure out how the suit works and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I like that the film is not interested in the journey from the eggs to the ship when John Hurt's character gets bodied by the facehugger. When that happens, we just cut straight to them being at the ship trying to break quarantine. And in some of the other Alien movies, they add that journey. Like in Alien Covenant or Prometheus, they add all those parts post-infection. And Alien is not interested in that at all, which I think is super interesting that Ridley Scott completely changed his philosophy on that. Maybe they didn't have the budget to show them moving back from the ship to the other ship, but I think the choice to just cut after the infection is lit. Speaking of lit, the incorporation of the lights within the production design I love so much, especially like how the lights on the screens, like whenever the camera is on one of the actors, you can see the lights projected on their faces. It's sort of noirish, which is something that Ridley Scott continues in Blade Runner. Sometimes the camera feels very uncharacteristic of Ridley Scott. I don't know if you felt that way, like with the wild handheld shots where like people are running in the hallway and stuff. I think it's very interesting that he used that in this movie. It's sort of like Seven, how David Fincher used a lot of handheld in that movie, but then he just like barely used it ever again after that. Also, the ending sequence with the countdown is great. It's so good.
I love it.
When you watched it, did you forget that she goes back to try to undo the timer? And then they're like, oh no, you actually have 5 minutes and you can't undo this.
Yeah, I did forget actually.
All right, so I have a couple of things on the director's cut that I want to mention. Do you have anything else you want to say about Alien?
I love it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, but that's it.
Okay, I think it's a 9 too, but it's not better than Aliens. Okay, so the director's cut of Alien. Here are some of the differences I noticed after the 30-minute mark. While I was watching the director's cut, I'm like, wait, I don't even really know the differences yet, so maybe I should just watch them side by side. So I had the theatrical cut on my computer going on, and I had the director's cut on my TV. And I had it, I didn't play it from the time, like how long we were into the movie. I started playing it at the same scene, so the time code was way off. It was a very weird experience. There's so where I started from, it adds Ripley entering the observation window outside of the med bay, which has a fight between Ripley and Lambert. Also, Ripley in that scene questions the legality of breaking quarantine. So like in the theatrical cut, they just cut to everyone looking outside of the med bay. I think this is a good addition. I think it should have stayed in the movie because it does add another layer to the division of the group. And also when Ripley and Lambert are 2 out of the 3 people left, I think it adds another layer to the end. But they cut it out and it's fine, I guess. The first half of the director's cut is much longer than the first half of the theatrical cut. So the first half is longer, but the second half is shorter. The theatrical cut is more of an even experience. I think the pacing of the theatrical cut is much better. In the director's cut, we have a scene where we hear the transmission that they talk about. So we actually hear whatever sound that they're hearing. In the egg hatching scene, when Kane gets mollywopped, he pulls out a gun in the in the director's cut, which is weird. Which makes it even weirder that he pokes his head into the egg. I don't know why he would do that if he was like, oh, I have a gun and I'll shoot. It's very weird. Later in the movie, when Ripley confronts Ash about breaking quarantine, in the director's cut, at the end of that scene, they just cut Ash's exit. In the theatrical cut, they show the whole scene and then they show Ash exit, which I think is fine, but I also like that we get to see how people act when other people aren't around, especially Ash, because of how devious he is, which on multiple watches adds a lot more to the movie. So I think keeping it was better in the theatrical cut. They add a shot of the xenomorph hiding in the shadows with the chains while Brett is letting the water drop on his face. I don't know if have you seen the director's cut?
No, I haven't.
There's one shot where it's like eye level with where the xenomorph is, and he's just hanging out, and it's actually kind of cool, but also you do see a little too much based on the lighting. Brett's death scene is prolonged a lot more, which I didn't really love. After Brett dies and they're all talking about what to do in the theatrical cut, I don't know if you remember the scene where Dallas goes into the room with Mother and he asks what his chances are. Yeah, so that scene is completely cut from the director's cut. It's not even in it.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know why. It's really stupid because it adds a lot more to Dallas's character in terms of like when he's searching for the xenomorph, because with that knowledge of Mother doubting his ability to, remedy the situation, there's more that you're projecting on Dallas in that moment where he's searching for it and he feels like it's his responsibility to snuff this thing out personally. And when he eventually fails, like, you feel bad for him, but in the director's cut, it's not even there. It's really stupid. But in the director's cut, you get a scene that shows where Dallas and Brett end up. It predates the hive room in Aliens where the xenomorph is pinning the people against the wall and stuff. So that scene is actually in the director's cut, which is kind of cool. And then Ripley torches them because Ripley finds Brett and Dallas and she just torches them, and Dallas is like, kill me. But just the major changes are just shaved frames and elongating things to make the film tighter. Because sometimes when you're watching the director's cut and the theatrical cut side by side, the scenes will go in and out of sync with each other, and it's very strange, especially at the end. So those are all the differences that I found. That's all I have to say about Alien. It's good, it's great, it's one of the best movies of all time, but it's not better than Aliens. I'll tell you what. I'll say it again. All right, buddy?
It's okay. That's why we have Film the Right Thing, so we can discuss movies.
So my worst movie, my number 6 was Alien 3.
My number 6 was Prometheus 2 or Alien Covenant.
My number 5 was Alien Resurrection.
So was mine.
My number 4 was Alien Covenant.
My number 4 was Alien 3.
Our number 3 was Prometheus. Number 2 was Alien.
My number 2 was Aliens.
And my number 1 is Aliens.
Yeah, my number 1 is Alien.
Dang, that's crazy.
Our lists are different, but kind of similar.
That is true.
It's like we're both fans of film and cinema.
Yeah. You blow through the mouthpiece, I'll do the fingering.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe and share with your friends.
Yeah.
All that jazz.
If your takes are worse than ours, put them in the comments so we can make fun of you.
Oh, definitely tell us what you guys think.
And then in the next commentary, I'll mention how bad your take is. And we'll make a joke out of it. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Love you.
I love you.
I love you more.
Even though you're wrong, I love you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.